two. Yeah, 7, 12, 15.
You look so dead.
Yeah, sure. We're out of time.
No, well, I'm not asking for a prize, right? I got a prize. I live in South Carolina.
That's
Good. So it's called another prize. And Savannah. So I'm only 30 minutes away. Half of that is the other property, and the other half looks out over the bridge. So 22,000 acre conservancy, the size of it. Right now there's only 1,100 front doors. They will pay about 1,000. It's just nature. And the amenities are kitchens. It's just nothing resembles Chicago. Which is we raised our son here, accomplished a lot of wonderful things, wonderful friends, yes, this is not a life anymore. Thank you for introducing us. And sometimes I would go. Immediately reached out to hi. My name is Norma Berlin. Choose your friend. Thank you.
Let's sit down here.
Anywhere you want. For you.
Yeah, let's just come over this side. I don't want to sit too close to the front because leave enough room for her family. I don't know how to do that.
Anywhere you want. Yeah. It's amazing that high power
Oh, because it's Shayla's funeral, we weren't.
I mean, no, I was able to stick with it, which was nice. Just selfish.
right there. Right? No. I don't know.
What's your stupid system?
It's not our rule. It's a state requirement.
I'm looking for the comfort of the seat.
I know, but I don't want to be that far back. It's too empty up front. It looks bad.
Oh, yeah.
Really? You're gonna sit with the
On the way out. Yeah, these are, that's my
It used to be 5 years. 5. Of course they do. She said, yeah, no, I know, but you said Jackie something positive. Yeah. Jim Ross. So, the president of the fabulous he said, tested positive for COVID. Do you want me to stay far apart? You know, let's meet on Zoom.
Oh, is that Pop over there? Yeah, just, I'll be there in a second.
So this was my last. No, no.
Deborah came sick and they sick. You want to sit back with us? Come back over there. I,
It's the thing. Good. How did you get here? With the lady.
hey,
She has her own place, doesn't she?
All the way?
Julie's dead.
So you keep your distance too.
Very much for being here. That's my girlfriend.
Oh, well, they got a cute one.
That's so nice. Oh, these people are so good to me. They're my newfound family. Jesse and John, Jack and Lily, who won't say a word, but when she gets home, she'll say, I saw Norma today, right?
That's exactly That's flattering.
Ugh, it's tough. So glad you're
I went around in the circle of the parking. Past it, and I said, that's what I wanted. I'm sorry. But I couldn't get there because it was one way.
Norma, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was looking.
Hi guys. I figured if you came with me, you would know exactly what to do.
Yeah, we'll see. It's still him.
You know, Jeff is up there and go, somehow I kept getting feedback over to link up with Jeff and introduce Jeff. Okay.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin the service in 5 minutes. If you haven't paid your respects to the family, please do so as quickly as possible.
And he said, well, it's on the website. Check the website. I mean, I can do it. These people.
Jeffrey, how are you?
How are you?
See you.
Not under these circumstances. Oh my God! Wow. All right.
We're old.
How are you, Zoe? Looking lovely as ever. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh my. Would you look? See, I was gonna just go up.
That's a lovely story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you live in the same building, so. Oh, you didn't then. You didn't live in the same building at that time. Our building.
So that's that what you were in Hyde Park. It's the old park. The old park club crowd. The old park club crowd. Thank you, Paul. Oh yeah, and look, and the thing is, Jeffrey brought those books. There's a, out in the hall, when you're looking for one, you'll see a picture of me and Howard in the 60s at the dinner register. Wearing that jacket, because I tried to go out constantly. What's that? Water. My son. And so the picture I took of Howard, I think that's wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the service. Can you please take your seats?
Yes. Should we take these 5 right here, or are you good with that? Sure. Okay. Go ahead. I'll sit last so Dan can join us.
Yeah.
No, Ellen sent me a note. I appreciate it so much. I know, I told you. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask everyone to turn your cell phones to silent at this time? Again, if you have a cell phone, please put it into silent mode at this time. The funeral service is going to be conducted by Rabbi Agir Glick, Cantor Stuart Vida, and Rabbi Emeritus Victor A. Merrilman. But before the service begins, Howard was a captain in the Army, and therefore he's deserving of honors. The Army is here. They're going to play taps and present a flag. And when they play taps, if everybody would please rise, put your hand over your heart, or if you're a veteran, you can salute. Not until they start to play taps. At this time, if the honor guard would please come forward. Please rise. You may be seated.
behalf of the President of the United States Army, and the grateful nation. Please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your most honorable.
Psalm 144. Adonai, Madam Vategarehu, Elinosh Vatechashvehu, Adam level damayamav, K'tzel הבוקר יציץ בחלב, לערב ימולל ביבש, תשב אנוש הדקה, ותאמר שובו שובו בני אדם, לו חוכמו ישכילו זאת, יבינו לאחריתם, כי לא במותו ייקח הכל, לא ירד אחריו כבודו. שמרתם וראה ישר, כי אחרית לאיש שלום. אודה אדוני נפש עבדיו, ילא ישוב כל החוסים בו.
Thank you for joining us. After the service, you are invited to the cemetery of West Lawn. Later today for the Shabbat here at the synagogue, tomorrow night at the Berlin residence, to fulfill the mitzvah, the good deed, the commandment of Nichum Avelim, comforting the mourners. This morning we are here to mourn the passing, to honor and celebrate the life of Howard Berlin. Howard was a wonderful and open-hearted man, a person of faith, of God, very religious in his own way, for whom Judaism was tremendously important. Howard did not sweat the small things. He was lovely and kind, could be strong when needed. He had a special feeling for caring for others. He was a founding doctor and head of department at Gottlieb Memorial Hospital, and a leader and past president here at this synagogue. He was humble, understated, but he was also a rock. Consistent, dependable, his heart was always in the right place. Everybody loved Howard. I remember when my son Adi was a toddler, he was completely drawn to Howard, followed him everywhere. Howard never demanded anything from others. He had a deep contentment within him and gratitude for his life. He knew what he loved and he went with it. Photography, his country, his family, and as all the nurses at Gottlieb knew, cookies. He was a gentleman with an air of gentleness, of goodness and goodliness. He had an ease, a lightness about how he lived life, a special light that he carried with him. And a golden heart. And he was immensely grateful for all of the blessings devoted husband to Norma for 69 years. You immediately knew how much he loved her and she him. They were and are almost synonymous at the synagogue. The picture is in our hallway. Their love and dedication for each other, a pillar of our shul. A loving father who gave and sacrificed for Jeff and Linda, Jordan, and the late Mary Ellen, and Fern and Lynn Holler, and the late John Holler. A dedicated grandfather to Rebecca and Sam. And a friend leader who served this congregation with tremendous joy, grace, dedication. It was literally his second home. He loved everything about Har Zion, devoted his time, his energy, his resources. He was president for 3 years, 1 year more than the traditional 2-year term at a time when the synagogue was flourishing. He was involved in every aspect of synagogue life. He came every week. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody else who spent as much time as he did in this building, he and Norma, over the past 50 years. He loved religion and Judaism. He was knowledgeable and skilled. We will now recite biblical passages linking Howard to the long chain of his ancestors and to this tradition he cherished so much and he felt so comfortable in. First from the Talmud. Mibayit michutz tisapenu amar Rabbah. The Talmud calls our attention to the fact that Aron Kodesh, the holy ark which held the Ten Commandments in the wilderness while the children of Israel traveled, was to be covered in gold, outside and inside. We could readily understand why the outside should be covered with gold. Decorations should be seen. But what need was there, however, for the inside to be golden? The commentators answer that the inside should be identical to the outside, tocho kevavo. And such is the case with goodness. Its open expression must be matched by inner conviction. Howard is gold, inside and outside. From the Talmud, Ashrei mi shegadal b'Torah. Blessed is the one who was reared in Torah, who labored in Torah, who pleased our Creator, who lived with a good reputation, and who died with a good name. Psalm 103, Rachem Av Banim. As a father has compassion for his children, Adonai has compassion for those who show reverence. God knows how we are fashioned, God remembers that we are dust. The days of mortals are like grass, they flourish as the flowers of the field. The wind passes over them, but they are no more, and no one can recognize where they grew. Adonai's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age, unchanging. How would have reverence for our tradition? The book of Ecclesiastes of Kohelet. A season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for planting and a time for reaping, a time for keeping and a time for discarding, a time for loving and a time for hating, a time for embracing and a time for refraining, a time for slaying and a time for healing, a time for laughing and a time for weeping, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. Finally, Psalm 23. I'd like to follow their booklets. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Make me lie down on green pastures. He leads me to still water. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We'll now share thoughts, stories, and eulogize Howard. To first invite Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Mirelman, to share a few words. Then Jeff and Fern will speak, and finally I will share a few words at the very end.
I first met Howard 36 years ago, the summer of 1989, when I came here for an interview. And he was, together with Marshall Walton, the head of the committee. It was a good meeting. I'm still around. But I remember Howard, even then, was a very quiet person. The last illness was a very prolonged one. He was placed in an excellent facility close to the home, and Norma could walk there and visit all the time. But it was a very, very bad illness. His personality began to escape from him. But Norma was very good, very valiant, very courageous, and very giving and loving, together with the rest of the family and very good friends. And Norma would come to the synagogue often, and I, like many others, because everybody knows Norma here, would ask, how's Howard? And we get periodic reports. But the last few weeks, the reports were not as pleasant. Even during Rosh Hashanah, Norma told me he's not eating, he's really rejecting every type of help. The body was giving up. After he passed on, I got a call from Norma, and she told me, well, you know him very well, for many, many decades. Would you speak? And I said, of course, I'd be honored to say a few words. And then she said, it was a brief telephone call. He said, he lived quietly and passed away quietly. And I got two thoughts at that moment. I was actually in my car driving from home to the Minyan, right before 8 o'clock. But two thoughts came to me. One I'll share with you in a few minutes, and the other one I'll share now. The first thought was, quiet is good. Quiet is wonderful. Especially in times of wars, with the news of violence, with killings and threats and dire predictions. It seems that the cacophony, the rudeness and the vicious ridiculing language is predominating. So quiet is good, civility is good. And Howard was quiet and civil and caring. There's a character in the Yom Kippur liturgy that is very close to every Jew. Everybody knows the story of Noah, of Jonah, and Jonah and the big fish, or sometimes Jonah and the whale. And Jonah was a quiet man, but he was not a caring person. Jonah tried to escape from God and to escape from duty and to escape from saving lives. Howard was quiet, but he was quiet in a different way. In many dimensions, he was always caring. First of all, with family. Norma and he were married almost 7 decades. That's much more than 120 years combined. 69 each, 138. And the children, Jeff, and Linda, and Jordan, and Fern, and their spouses are not among the living. And grandchildren, Rebecca and Sam, were part of this family. And Howard was quiet Howard, but very strong, a very strong presence in this family. The second dimension is his professional life. His practice was mainly in anesthesiology. It befits a quiet person. Anesthesia is very helpful. It releases, it prevents pain, but also you need a professional that knows how to apply it. And he was I spoke with many of his colleagues at Gottlieb and other places, and he was always spoken of with great respect. An anesthesiologist, of course, has a lot in his hands during surgery. Enough medication is given to prevent pain, but if the dosage is too high, it can cause damage and harm. That was, again, another dimension of Howard, the quiet physician, but very meticulous in his métier. Another dimension was his Jewish faith. We heard a little about it, and I'm sure we'll hear more today. And his Judaism was especially in Har Zion, within these walls. As a family, as a couple, Norma and Howard, Howard and Norma, they were always there. President of this shul, even before my time, so we go back quite a while. And then later, he was the first husband when Norma became president. And that's when I was already on the Bima those days. But more than that, they both attended and, of course, continued to attend for Norman. I remember the Sunday lectures we had very often, almost every Sunday throughout the year in Gottlieb Hall. And they were always there. There was a group of many, unfortunately not with us anymore, but a group that came every Sunday, and we had a nice crowd. And he would ask questions, but never really during the question and answer period. He would come to me later afterwards and discuss discuss some points, some questions, some comments. That was Howard. I remember also another aspect of our involvement together in the synagogue with Howard, of course, and Norma as well, with the Kala. Kala is our retreat that we have in the late winter, early spring, a weekend, a retreat from Friday to Sunday. And it's a marvelous program. But we transformed what was at the time, 35 years ago, a program that attracted older couples into a family affair. We transformed it into families coming in with children, grandchildren, grandparents, sometimes nephews and nieces. It was a marvelous experience, and the Berlins were part of that transformation. I think you brought Rebecca at times, right? Talking about Rebecca, there's no Shabbat that Norman doesn't remind me that Rebecca was the first baby that I named 35 years ago. The first girl. And she remembers too, I see. There were other aspects, other dimensions of Howard. The military experience was also meaningful to him as an American and an American Jew. And then there was photography. There was no affair in this building in which we didn't see Howard with his camera taking pictures of all the attendees and the speakers or whatever it was. He wasn't the only one, but he was always there. And this was one of his hobbies. Another important thing in the family was their trips, their vacations, many of them cruises throughout the world. We had sometimes compared cruises that we took and they took, and it was always fun. But I spoke now about my first thought that came to me when Norma said, you know, he lived quietly and died quietly. The first thought was, and I told Norma on the phone, that you are the opposite. This is something that only a friend can say. And of course, you have to take it the right way. But it came out of the heart, you know. And this is, in a way, how a couple lived through so many decades in harmony, in love, and being very disparate personalities. One a quiet person, and Norma the opposite, to put it simply. Norma is very gregarious, very outgoing, and so on. But they made a very, very good team together, and it enriched their lives, and of course the lives of our congregation, and the lives of their families and family as well. So opposites are good too. There's a time to be quiet and a time to be gregarious, a time to be outgoing and a time to let the thoughts inside. Et vive la différence, and may the difference be appreciated and long lived. So to Howard and the family I say, Shalom Uracha, peace and blessings.
Wow. I've been preparing this for the last 2 years in my head. And it still doesn't sound right. I want to thank you all for coming here to support our family and to honor one of the most humble men I've ever met. My dad really did chase the American dream, and he lived it every second of every day. As the story goes, my father really has only one disagreement with my mother in their 69-year love affair, and that was where we were going to live. My mother had to live in Lincolnwood because Bobby lived in Lincolnwood at the time. That's where we were going. As fate would have it, my father insisted on living 10 minutes from Godwin Memorial Hospital. And as fate would have it, we settled at Fair Oaks in Lemoyne, right across the street from the Gottliebs themselves. And more importantly, we found this place, West Suburban Temple Har Zion, where we became deeply rooted in the Jewish community. I think it was right over there that I was playing with my dad's seat as a little boy and couldn't wait to get my first tallis. I think it was right over there that I first laid eyes on my beautiful bride, Linda. It was right over there that my children were named. It was right over there that all two children, and Linda and I, were both bar and bat mitzvah there. In fact, my father was present at the time of Linda's bat mitzvah and called everyone to the Torah. There's not an inch of this place that my father hasn't touched or photographed. He loved it here. He spent 60 years doing his best to ensure that generation of Jews loved it like he did. My dad was especially captivated by the grappa windows. I think it was actually the first fundraising project my father worked on. And it's only fitting that they shine down on him today. I think other than my mother, those are the most photographed things he's taken pictures of. Professionally, my dad was a wonderful anesthesiologist and chairman of the department. While I always looked at my dad as that cool Dr. Joe Gannon on Medical Center, he himself always referred to himself as just a local yokel. During high school, I got to work as an operating room orderly. Those summers gave me a rare glimpse into what my father was like outside of our four walls. And to no surprise, he was the same man. Kind, generous, spectacular. I can't tell you what a thrill it was when people would see my name tag as I was taking them to and from OR, and to hear the great stories of how wonderful my dad was, how he made them feel. That is the mark of a true man. My father was endlessly curious about life. Photography was his passion. And it was through photography, I think, that my father gave me the greatest gift of all. That was how to look at a lens and look through life. What I saw, the beauty of life. And yes, how to capture it forever. And that's what we did. We crawled around in forests to try and find that picture of a bee, to grab that picture of a bee pollinating a flower. Trying to get that moment where Rebecca's feet just left the blocks in swimming, or the puck hitting the back of Sam's glove. That's all he wanted to capture. Everything he did for us and my mom. My father was the last of the great sportsmen, but sat there at Wrigley at Soldier Field with icicles coming out of his nose so that my brother and I could go to the Bear game with him. He endured walking down railroad tracks when our houseboat broke down. My mother had the genius idea to drive down the Mississippi in a houseboat. He was what? It was almost the same reaction when he had to learn how to do the laundry when my mother went back to school. What? But at the end of the day, when he handed me that camera for the first time, it was almost as good as finding that Playboy magazine for the first time as well. You know, on Tuesday, I had a very strange feeling, which I usually get around the high holidays. I always thought over the last couple of years that if my dad was going to go, he was going on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. To me, he was that righteous of a human. And as I approached the show, I was like, I don't know why I was captivated by the statue that's inlaid into the side of the building. But I had read it really probably closely for the first time, where it says, not by strength, nor by might, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. And if that doesn't describe my dad, nothing does. A true servant leader. And it was right there that I heard the greatest words the young boy on his bar mitzvah could hear. Yahamod Maftiri, Shimon Berlin, Ben Chaim Zvi, son of Chaim Zvi. Bye, Dad.
For Menashe's sons.
Impossible to describe the amount of love that I hold in my heart for you. The father and daughter bond we share is unlike any other. It is a treasure. Today, as I stand here to celebrate your life, I grapple with the overwhelming mixture of sorrow and gratitude. Dad, you are the silent strength in our family, a gentle force that quietly held us together. He patiently would help me with my math homework, taught me how to do the box step before my first dance. They felt so good. I cherished the warm smile that greeted me at every milestone, the occasional teasing remark that lightened a heavy heart. Every hug, every shared look, and every shared laugh. You gave me the reassuring confidence that you were always there when I needed advice, no matter how trivial it seemed. Your words always carried the weight of sincerity. When I felt lost or overwhelmed, you would listen without judgment, offering a calm perspective that made even the most daunting challenge manageable. You taught me that strength comes in many forms. It resides in quiet kindness and humility, and in the relentless pursuit of making those around you feel valued. Today I carry with me not just memories, but a profound sense of gratitude. I'm grateful for your countless lessons that have molded me into the person I am, for your unwavering support, and the love that continues to guide me. The pain of losing you is immeasurable. I find peace in knowing your spirit lives on in every laugh, every act of kindness, and every challenge I will overcome with the strength you instilled in me. Dad, you had an immense impact on and everyone you touch. I promise to carry forward your values, to cherish and celebrate the beauty of life, and to honor you in every step of my journey. Thank you for being my mentor, my confidant, my best friend, and above all, my dear father.
I'd like to share a few more thoughts and some biographical details. Howard was local. He was born in Chicago and grew up on the north side, Broadway near Wrigleyville. And his father, Irving Berlin, came as a teenager from Latvia, owned a grocery store. Howard worked. So one day, Jeff and Norma told me his father received sheet music because they thought he was Irving Berlin. His mother was from the South, from Mississippi, and great cook, loving mother. Then during his childhood, they moved further north to Birchwood, near Evanston, and they bought a building. And his grandparents, his mother's parents, lived on the unit above, they lived on the unit below. And his grandmother said to Howard and to his brother Lynn, be doctors, be doctors, be doctors. And it worked. Howard was an excellent student. We all knew how smart he was. He had this incredibly inquisitive mind, always seeking to understand and to master a new project, a new gadget, a new subject. He just had that patience to get to the bottom of all of it and give it its due. And he also had the gift of then teaching and transmitting it to others in a patient, loving way. He attended Senn High School, predominantly Jewish in those days. And for 4 years, he was part of the ROTC, according to family tradition, mainly because he wanted to avoid swimming lessons. The family attended Anshe Emet, our large conservative synagogue in Lakeview, and Howard got a very good training in Judaism and Hebrew there. And his family was traditional, not very religious, and he just soaked up everything Jewish. And just had this lifelong appreciation of anything Jewish. He loved this synagogue, but any synagogue he went into, holidays, and his fellow Jews, and as Jeff said to me, he loved being Jewish, every minute of it. He went to medical school at the University of Illinois. It was there that he met Norma. She was 19 years old, he was 24, 25. And she needed a ride to work, and someone suggested Howard, who was driving to a similar area. And so every morning, with Len in the back of the car, they would drive. And Howard asked her out on a date after the very first ride. And she said yes, and they started going out. So we went on dates, Papa Milano's, Howard loved pizza. And he was a perceptive person. He knew what a great catch she was. And he had a sense about where things should go. Quietly, as everybody said, but surely. So just a few months later, a little over 2 months later, on Hanukkah, December, they met in September and December, he gave her as a gift a bathrobe, and in the pocket was a diamond ring. So they were married Labor Day, honeymoon at Nippersink Resort in Wisconsin, which was very popular in those days. Went there for 4 days. It was all they could afford at the time. So he had not yet finished medical school, so they moved into humble medical school accommodations in a neighborhood by the school. And they made friends, and he had a deferred enlistment to the armed forces while he finished medical school. So when he finally finished, he enlisted, and they went to Fort Dixon, New Jersey. Those were wonderful years, Norma said. We often could hear them talk about it and reminiscence about those years in New Jersey. And so he was discharged a little early because Jeff was born. And he started soon after that at Gottlieb. He was one of the founding physicians there. in 1961 when it opened its doors alongside our dear member, also Howard's friend for all those years, Hy Solomon, who passed a few weeks ago. And really, as we all heard and knew, Howard and Norma just made this beautiful life for themselves, a life worthy of admiration here, first in Elmwood Park and then in Oak Park. And as we heard from Jeff how Howard's qualities, and he said to me what a gift it was to see Howard firsthand in the hospital, doing everything we all knew him to do, quietly but tirelessly, giving the sort of care that he thought people deserved and should get. And Norma mentioned to me she remembered a child who kept going back to the hospital with severe asthma, and how grateful the father was each time to see Howard, knowing Howard would be there to care for them. And every morning they shared with me that Howard would put on a suit and a tie and would look perfect. And sometimes he would take the suit right off when he arrived at the hospital to put on his scrubs. And then in the evening he would take his scrubs off and put the suit and tie back on to make his rounds, because he believed that was the kind of care that his patients deserved. So he agreed to be chairman of the department, and always there at home too. And Jeff also shared with me as Fern about not only going to the sports games, the hockey as well as the football, but also there for homework and sharing photography. And we all knew the love of photography that he had in the midst his world of hobbies. And he had in his basement, he had the whole setup. He had his couch, and stereo, and television, and bar, even though he wasn't much of a drinker. And he had a full photography set. He actually did color photography in his basement. And Jeff shared with me how friends would come over and look and wonder at the color photographs emerging out of it. And whatever he did, he had this incredible sense of wanting to understand it. And so when he bought a pool table, he learned all the best angles, how to become a master at doing pool. The same with the Rubik's Cube when it first came out, and just always ahead of the curve, a sense of a creative mind and visionary. And when the first Texas Instrument calculator came out, he marveled at it. He was one of the first people in the neighborhood to own a computer. And so incredibly content in his world always, reading, discovering, and Jeff and Norma said to me, I imagined there was pipe, the original Renaissance man in the basement. But even though he loved that space, he also was always there to be there with his family, fully present, giving his whole heart. We heard that story of the Mississippi houseboat and jumping into the fun when he needed to or had to. But as we all knew him, someone who's quietly but surely modeled values, what it means to live a life of values. And Jeff talked about watching him and love for this country, raising the Flag Day and on holidays, and just seeing him being at the flag. And you can imagine the gratitude he felt, son of an immigrant, and the beautiful life that he received in this country, and how grateful he was for his family and for all of it. And wanting to transmit that and his love of Judaism and education that were the cornerstones of his life. I want to talk a little bit more about the synagogue too. And when Jeff described his childhood here, talking about it with his friends, between the synagogue and life, it was just ideal childhood, like Camelot. And really everybody knew them here, and still knows, everybody knows them here. Continual engagement with the community over many, many decades. And not only was he president for an additional third year, and we know this, Howard was not someone who asked anybody for anything, but for the synagogue he did it. He helped raise funds for Rabbi Tabachnik, and Howard and Norma were very close to Rabbi Tabachnik and his wife, of Rabbi Merelman. Jeff at the time was a youth chapter president, and they socialized together. Basically, the family helped run the synagogue over that period. And Howard was also involved in the wider community and known he had an ability to help others. He was known that he could hang a mezuzah on our doorways as we were commanded and could chant a blessing, and so he did that. And he was available to help make a prayer quorum at the cemetery wherever it was needed. We would chant Haftarot here with Cantor Brindel, would ask him to do that. And Jeff told me he loved all the Jewish holidays, but especially he loved Yom Tov. He loved the high holidays, especially that we're in now. The days of judgment and intensity, all of the Jewish life, all of the Jewish world congregating, coming together in prayer, and days of awe and loftiness, and being transported when everybody looks in that direction. And it was the high holidays, and the other very intense Jewish holiday, Passover. And Passover is non-negotiable for Howard. They would often host 35, 40 people here, lead the whole family. And he made it meaningful. Howard would make sure everybody had their part, knew when to bring meaning, and they went to kibbutz a little bit, and kid around, making it patiently but surely a good experience. One year someone bought him a kittel, a traditional robe that one wears, leading the Seder, which not many people do these days. And he just loved the kittel, just brought it all together for them. And on Friday nights, Jeff told me that if his friends came over, he made sure to include them, and also they knew they had to wear a yarmulke if he was around, because that was the reverence. In the synagogue, he was one of the most understanding and kind people, but if someone came in, didn't wear a yarmulke in the service, he would be sure to let them know, put it on. With his giving nature, Howard understood, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, that the highest destiny of a human being is to know that our path here in this world is to serve others. And I think that taking the pictures in some ways was a way of serving others. And I myself, one of the people who received all the books that he made so wonderfully. My own daughter is naming. He was there taking pictures, and later made a book about it. The day when I was 10 years ago inaugurated as the rabbi, and another trip to Israel, so many ways. And I think it was maybe part of, he was comfortable in the background. There was also something about it that he felt that was his way of capturing part of the essence of life, some of the preciousness of every moment, and everything happening, the people he loved, the joys, the blessings. He didn't take any of it for granted. So he took pictures of every single religious school class. And later, when he was growing up, he would, when Fern and Jordy and Jeff were growing up, he would take pictures and do slideshows, and the whole neighborhood would come to watch the slideshows because they were so wonderful. As everybody mentioned, I want to talk a little bit more about Howard and Norma as a team. Opposites, has been mentioned, and we knew them that together they could do anything. He was quiet, gentle, and Norma, as Jeff said, that one of Norma's leap year birthdays was born shot out of a cannon. And he was just someone who exuded such warmth and steadiness and loving presence. I think Norma helped expose him to situations and environments he might not have otherwise. But that picture we put up just a few weeks ago in our hallway from the synagogue dinner dance. And Norma looks as always elegant and beautiful, and he looks handsome and debonair, and above all, just beaming with joy, gratitude for his life and for all of it. So when the grandkids arrived, Jeff told me he was present and going to all the games and activities and always taking endless pictures. And if someone got in the way of taking a picture of one of his beloved grandchildren, he would ask them he wanted to get that picture of how important it was for him. And when they bought a condo at Lake Geneva, with not far from other synagogue families, how priceless it was for the whole family. It wasn't for him. He wasn't a beach person or a pool person. He just loved to sit there on his chair, reading, knowing he was there, warm, loving presence, and seeing everyone else enjoy and doing what they did. So he retired in his late 70s. He was perceptive as always about what was the right time. And he and Norma continued to travel and be so engaged with everything here at the synagogue. And when I came here for the first time, 10 and a half years ago, I was visiting before I signed on the line. And Howard greeted me at the airport. And it was Howard and Norma and Ed Schmidt who drove me around. Howard was the driver, all around Chicago, telling me about Chicago and everything about the shul. And for me, meeting Howard and Norma and Ed helped convince me to come here because I knew they were just good people, people of substance and solid, interesting ideas, openness of mind, reverence and traditional, and a pleasing common sense about how to live life. And I could tell Howard, I just knew what a trustworthy person of integrity he was. It was so apparent. I think we can say that Howard was a quiet giant of the synagogue. And he paid his dues in every single way, but he never wore it on his sleeve. He was just content to be in his favorite place with his favorite people, seeing people love this community. It's been mentioned the last few years were difficult. We saw how much Norma gave, and the wonderful caretaker she was for him, and how grateful he was for all of it, all those endless hours of energy. And we were all inspired by her devotion. And they say that at the end of a person's life, the sum of who they are comes to the surface. And Howard, I remember 18 months ago, visiting him one day and singing a few songs, and suddenly out of nowhere he started to sing so strongly and fully, just completely in it, just loving it. And Howard was just someone who was interested in people and life, just watching, observing, taking pictures of all of it, a person with a special feeling for caring for others, who loved family and felt called to serve others, a person of faith, a loving human being with an open heart. At the end of a Hasidic story from Moshe Leib, who told us Hasidim, I learned how to love others from a peasant. I was sitting in an inn watching the people around me, and this particular peasant was also there. He was sitting and drinking with other peasants, and for a long time he sat silently. When he was moved by wine, he turned to one of his men seated next to him and said, tell me, don't you or do you love me? And the other replied, I love you very much. The first peasant replied, you say that you love me, but you don't know what I need. If you really love me, you would know. The other had not a word to say about it, and the peasant who put the question fell silent again. But said the Rebbe, I understood then at that moment that to know the needs of human beings and to bear the burden of their sorrow, that is true love. And Howard was the kind of person who knew the needs of other human beings and was willing to bear the burden of their sorrow because he understood true love. And so last week I was there as Howard left the world in a way that I will never forget, like a true tzaddik, a righteous soul. He passed away on Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of our holiest days of the year. So we were saying Jewish prayers at the end of life, composed of all the most important prayers of our tradition that are supposed to be in our lips as we go to Olam Haba, the world to come. The Shema, our declaration of faith, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Olam Va'ed, blessed be the name of the glorious divine kingdom forever and ever. And Adonai Elohim, the words we finished the whole Yom Kippur service with. Adonai is God. And so as we recited the final words, Adonai Elohim, Adonai is God, Howard left the world. So Howard leaves behind him a community that's thankful for the so many parts of this synagogue that he helped build and create. A family bound together by love and joy, a life well lived with gratitude and reverence, exemplifying all of the qualities of our tradition. As our prophet Micah says, what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with your God. We'll carry Howard's light and love and powerful spirit with us for many long years to come as we prepare to lay him to rest. We recite the El Malei Rachamim prayer that Howard's soul shall continue to ascend on high, protected under the wings of the Shekhinah of divine presence. Please rise.
אל מלא רחמים, שוכן מרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע, מזהירים את נשמת חיים צבי בן יצחק ורבקה, שהלך לעולמו בגן בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, ינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of Howard who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
The interment will take place at West Lawn Cemetery, located at 7801 West Montrose in Norwich. If you're planning on going to the cemetery, we ask that you obtain either a flag that magnetically sticks on top of your car, or if you know that your car is not magnetic, then you can also take a sticker, place it on the inside right portion of your windshield. Please drive with your high beam headlights on, drive with your flashers on, and please drive defensively. If the light turns to red, you're allowed to go through it, but you have to look both ways to make sure that everybody on either side sees that there's a funeral procession. Please drive defensively. If I see the line gets split, I will pull over. You will get there to the cemetery. You are welcome to go directly to the cemetery, 7801 West Montrose. It's in the Maple section. After the interment, the family will be coming back here today for a reception, a meal of condolence from 1:15 to 6:30 today. And then tomorrow, they'll be going to the residence, and that information on the Berlin's address is on the pamphlet on page 3. The following have been asked to act as pallbearers: Sam Berlin, Jonathan Berlin, Stephen Berlin, Robert Berlin, Mark Slavin, and Dale Gromick. At this time, if everybody would please rise, and if the pallbearers would please come forward.
I have for you on your side.
Hallelujah.